This week, the Clarets compete in the third round of the FA Cup and meet the mighty Manchester United at Turf Moor. This is the None and Ever podcast. Hello and welcome to another edition of the None and Ever podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and joining me this week are two regular panellists who you know and love very well, Richard Steele and Robbie Coppack. Rich, Robbie, welcome.
How do you do?
Good evening, all. Good evening.
Good evening. Robbie, you graced us with your presence. We're honoured. It's been a while.
It has been a while, hasn't it? I felt quite optimistic. Even though we got beat last night, I was actually quite... I was bursting with pride after with how we played. So I thought, yeah, go on, I'll go cheer Natalie up. She sounds stressed.
Go and chip it. You missed our round the table chat last week about the takeover.
I nearly joined it as well, but I had to finish off something for work. I nearly joined a link randomly as well.
Oh, that would have been amazing. It was a little bit. Actually, I don't think it was as chaotic as we thought it was going to be. Was it really, Rich? I think it was quite slick in the end.
Well, after my nightmare, after 10 minutes, got there in the end. I think this is the first podcast I've done in weeks where I've actually logged on to our system and my microphone's working properly. So fingers crossed it will last.
I know, you've just jinxed us now. We're obviously going to have some technical issue. Well, we've got a couple of games to talk about this week. Listeners, we've got obviously the FA Cup tie at the weekend, Burnley progressing through the third round into the fourth round draw by just about beating MK Dons at Turf, albeit we needed to go to extra time on penalties, which was a little bit more stressful than any of us needed. And then, of course, the Clarets fell to a 1-0 defeat against Manchester United at Turf Moor last night, which was disappointing. And Rich, I'm still sulking a little bit about that, I think.
Yeah, it was obviously... you're always disappointed when you lose and the full time, especially when the lads give everything. You was gutted, but on reflection of it, really proud of the performance. I thought on another day, we could have come out with a 0-0 draw. I know we'll analyse it in a little bit more detail. The only gripe I've got, I think we probably sat back a little bit too much in the second half when in the first half we was on the front foot more. But like you said, United's in great form, and if you look at their away record, it's really outstanding this year. Yeah, so it was a good performance, and it's nice to see us maintaining those performance levels, and I think we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think I was really pleased at half time. I thought the lads gave a really good performance that first half. I thought they made it difficult for United. I don't think it was one for the purists, was it? It wasn't fast flowing, entertaining, and technically excellent football. But actually, I think that was from both sides as well. I think both sides had a difficult flow to the game against the first half. I think in the second half, United just turned the screw a little bit, didn't they, and just upped the ante, and unfortunately we struggled to find our feet. But let's rewind a little bit first, Robbie, and let's have a look at the weekend's game first, because it was the third round of the FA Cup, and I've got to say, just with giant... I don't know if it was the pandemic, the lack of football, whether it was maybe a little bit of Premier League fatigue or what it was, but that weekend, to me, was one of the most enjoyable third-round FA Cup weekends I think I've had in a long time.
Well, this is exactly why I'm on, because I didn't watch any football this weekend, so I hope you can tell me all about it.
Excellent. Listeners, Robbie Coppack never fails when he comes on the podcast. You're all set up for an...
I don't watch the FA Cup. I think I'm the only person in probably the UK who hates the FA Cup. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
I literally cannot stand it. Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting point. Why? What is it about the FA Cup that you don't like?
Well, I think what killed it for me is when we got beat by Lincoln.
That's one season, man.
Yeah, and also I just don't like the BBC's coverage, and what else annoys me about it? How everything's very patronising. So it's sort of like, oh, this player he works at the co-op. This is amazing, blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
we got a lot of that this weekend.
Like, I couldn't, I stayed away from the Marine Spurs game because I knew it was going to be full of that.
Yeah, I think Dion Dublin was particularly condescending, I think, in some of their coverage. So there you are. You are the Chris Kamara of the None and Ever podcast.
Everyone
It's a
wants about the
penalty, is
Carabao
it, Jeff?
Cup. That's better.
Great. So how was the FA Cup, Robbie? Don't know, Jeff. Didn't watch it, Jeff. Rich, let's just meet Robbie and get him off the system. So obviously you did watch the FA Cup, because I know you did, because we were texting about it at the same time. Are we surprised at all that it ended up going the way it did? I don't think I was surprised.
I've just got to say there, Robbie, I think you make some unbelievable points on this podcast, but that is the biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard from anyone. How can you say you hate the FA Cup? It's absolutely brilliant. I love it when you've got some plumber from Liverpool playing against Bale. I get what you mean. It's a little bit patronising, but no, sorry, Rob. I can't agree with you there, pal.
I agree. I'm in Camp Steel 100%. I
Yeah.
love the FA Cup.
That's one of them when you see on Twitter people put unpopular opinions, and
Yeah.
Robbie would just put hate the FA Cup, and everyone would just call them a miserable so and so. I think it's I watch loads of games. I think it's brilliant for the reason, like, obviously I mentioned in our WhatsApp group I kind of work with Charlie quite a lot on the kind of education programme, and seeing what the FA Cup's done for the club and has raised the profile for the club and the financial side of it has been absolutely unbelievable. And the same for clubs like Marine, obviously Crawley. Some of those, it gives, like, Crawley had a couple of young lads up front who scored against Leeds, and it puts them in the shop window. And I think it's exciting watching the draw come in, because you're seeing the fourth round draw against Fulham, and you're like, oh, that's not great. It's a bit boring. Then you see it and go, oh well, but in the fifth round now we could play Bournemouth, or I think it was Bournemouth or Crawley. So
It was
yeah,
Crawley, yeah.
I enjoyed it over the weekend. I enjoyed. What I will agree with Robbie is I enjoyed the first half an hour of Burnley's game, and then the rest of it after Cameron Jerome scored was an absolute drag, wasn't it? It was a great cup
Yeah,
tie.
it was.
It was a great cup tie. It was kind of, again, the underdog, kind of what we do quite a lot of the time, kind of defending for their lives, scrapping for everything, and then the bigger club getting a decision going for them. Which we seem to do with the free kick, and obviously the manager got sent off because he was complaining that it went over the allocated time, which had every reason to. But yeah, we're in the hat. And I think it's, and it was great to see Leeds get battered too. That was a personal highlight of my weekend.
A personal highlight of most of our weekends. Well, Robbie, one thing I will bring you back in on this, because this is kind of a wider point, not necessarily linked to the FA Cup. It took a very, very, very late equaliser by our man Matty Vidrick right at the end to rescue us and take us to extra time before we obviously won on penalties. And one of the well, I guess Dyche himself has put this front and centre of the media, is our goal scoring problem at the moment. He said in the press, obviously, he's telling his defenders that he's putting pressure on them to defend, so he now has to put pressure on the strikers. We've got a striker problem.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think we talk about Vidra quite a lot. He's never really been given like a fair chance. I thought he did pretty well during the Project Restart, and he seemed to start a couple of games with J-Rod up top, and they seemed to have like a nice little like partnership going. But we're not really seeing it this season. Dyche has gone for more the Barnes and Wood partnership, and it hasn't really. It used to be effective, especially certainly a couple of years ago. It was very effective for us, but this season, apart from maybe if it was the Wolves game where they both scored, we haven't really seen them two really get going yet. Barnes has come back from injury. Wood looks like he's just devoid of any confidence whatsoever. So it's sort of like, well, Jay's coming back from injury. It's sort of like Vidra's there, fit, raring to go. He makes an impact against MK Dons. Come on last night, did really well. Obviously, he missed a couple of chances, but he looks fit and fresh. And it's like, maybe could we throw it in against West Ham to see what happens?
Yeah. Rich, how are you feeling about Vidrick? I'm going to come back onto Barnes and Wood back in a minute, but obviously a lot of the talk at the moment is some real pressure for Dyche to start Matty Vidra. But I think the debate that I've seen circulating around social media, and I was copied into so many threads last night that I lost track of who was saying what, but it seems to be this argument that, well, number one, Matty Vidra gets unfairly treated because he comes on, maybe misses one chance and then gets dropped, and that's the justification for not playing him. Whereas Barnes and Wood can go weeks and weeks missing several chances and not get dropped. But then is that the reason for that? Is that Matty Vidger's not getting any game time, so he can't be expected to be completely match sharp? I mean, where do you sit with this whole Matty Vidger quandrum?
I'm going to try and give a well-balanced argument to it without bringing Wood and Barnes into it, which I suppose is quite difficult. I think
Well, go for it if you need to.
first of all, Matty Vidger's we're kind of going on about like he's like Neymar. No, maybe I'm exaggerating for the podcast, but it's all of a sudden like if Vidger comes in, he's going to score, a hat trick every game, and he's going to score our goal solving problems, which is not. But I think he deserves more game time than what he's getting at the moment. Again, last night for me, we was getting deeper and deeper. He should have come on the pitch a bit earlier, because he's not rapid, but he's got pace where he can stretch defences. And what I would say is, I think this season, obviously, you analyse our strikers, and he's actually for the minutes he's played has got a decent goal scoring record, albeit those being in cup competitions. So there's a big difference between playing at MK Dons and Man United. But at the same time, I would personally like to see him start on Saturday, just for the fact of I don't think Jay's fully fit. For me, in my opinion, I think overall Jay's when fully fit is our best striker, and I think he proved that when he had a run of games at the end of last season. Again, that's just my opinion, but I think Vidra probably does deserve a start on Saturday, even if it's just 2 or 3 games. Let him have a running game, see what he can do, and if he doesn't do it, then go back to your tried and tested method. At the end of the day, Wood and Barnes at the moment, they're not scoring goals, and I know we'll analyse that a little bit more later. So my feeling is, what has he actually got to lose with starting?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my balanced opinion, is that he's not the Messiah. He's not going to come in and we're not all of a sudden going to score 5-6 goals a game. And I know people don't think that. I'm just trying to make a point. But at the same time, I definitely think he deserves more minutes than what he's getting at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. Robbie, obviously, we don't know what Daesh is going to do, but I guess the argument here is whether or not you just let Wood play through it and just keep going, because at some point he's going to score and he's going to get that form back and everything will be fine. But I think you were particularly annoyed last night with a lot of the criticism that was heading Wood and Barnes' way.
Yeah, certainly towards Chris Wood as well. I must say, I thought Ashley Barnes played all right last night. I thought he did what you expect him to do against one of the top sides, is to frustrate the opposition, to win cheap free kicks and keep falling to ground and trying to rattle one of the defenders. Like, he was pretty much hanging on to Matic all evening. You were expecting that to explode, but the criticism Chris Wood have got, admittedly, he is out of form and he doesn't look like the striker we've scored double figures in the Premier League for the last 2-3 seasons. But I think what I mentioned it before, it's in the last 18 months, the Dwight McNeil and Chris Wood supply line has been so influential for us that we haven't really seen the best of Dwight McNeil either. So that impacts Chris Wood. Set pieces from Ashley Westwood are sometimes really good in it, but half the time they don't even beat the first man, or it goes straight to the goalkeeper. I know that Richard complains about that quite a lot, and he always lets us know when it happens, literally dead on the minute. And so that impacts Chris Wood as well. And then just generally the overall service, I don't think we're putting enough balls into the box to even supply him with, and ultimately that affects confidence. And he scored 3 Premier League goals. It's not the worst record in the world. You expect him to maybe have 5 or 6, but if he scores a brace on Saturday, that all his poor form is kind of forgotten about, and it's a decent return.
Yeah, I think the whole supply line is a really important part, Rich. I think people put so much pressure on strikers, but what are they supposed to do if they're just not getting any supply line whatsoever? And of course, it's not just Dwight McNeil, but Charlie Taylor as well's out of the side at the moment as well, so that's missing. And I just think it feels very naive, even at Daesh, I guess, to be critical of strikers, to say, well, you need to be more clinical, because Daesh thinks that we are creating a lot of chances. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that we are creating that many. Am I missing?
I did read a stat. Chris Wood's missed more chances this, more kind of what's classed as big chances this season than he did in the whole of last season.
Oh,
So,
really?
which in fact, listen, what I would say is, it's not like we get chance after chance after chance in a game. So, obviously, when our strikers do miss a really good chance, I think it does exaggerate it. Granted. Do you know what? For me, Natalie and Rob, it's not just his goal scoring. For me, that's kind of is the massive issue. I just think his all round game at the moment is poor. It's kind of
I was about to bring that up.
it's not.
He doesn't seem to be running channels as much.
It's again. I don't want to come across too harsh, but it looks like he's got like cement in his boots at the moment because he's like running and the ball's pinging off him. And I know Robbie, like, I don't want to come across like I'm being too harsh, but I actually feel for him at the moment because he just needs a bit of a break. Wood is a good player. And you look at I've just looked at his goal scoring record there for us, and for a team that doesn't score that many goals, his goal scoring record is excellent. So I just think he needs 2 or 3 games, sit on the bench, away from the spotlight. Maybe work on a few things in training and then come back again. I think kind of obviously Dyche knows better, and at the weekend he'll go and score 2 because he normally scores against West Ham. But I don't know. I think it's a difficult one. Like I think Dyche kind of wants to play him back into form. Where again, this is what I was saying, and this is why I'm sat in my bedroom doing a podcast rather than managing Burnley. Is I would take him out of the team for just 2 or 3 games. But
Who do you play then, Rich?
me,
Who?
I play Barnes, and me personally, if Rodriguez is fully fit, which he doesn't seem to be, Rodriguez would be my first striker that I would
Yes.
pick. I just obviously this season there seems to be fitness issues, but when he's playing well, he's a goal threat. I think he drops into that number 10 role really well, and he links the attack in the midfield, and he can also run the channels. I think his game's more varied than any other striker we've got. But I think if he's not fully fit Saturday, I go Barnes and Vidra. I think Barnes did okay, especially the first half. He kind of was really aggressive. He won fouls. He kind of won flick-ons. There was a flick-on he won to Wood, which kind of, a couple of things where Wood had like deflected shots. So, yeah, I personally would go, if I was picking a team now, I'd go Barnes and Vidra. But if it's such a difficult one, this, isn't it? I think we're all torn on it. So, like, Robbie,
Yeah.
who would you go for on Saturday? Sorry, I've stolen your job, Natalie.
Oh no, please feel free.
It is a tough one. I agree with you. I think Jay's our best striker. He's like just sort of echoing what you say. He certainly gives us the most in terms of being able to link the play up, being able to run channels. Could play out wide, so we could probably, if we were really under the cosh, you could probably drop it into like a 5-man midfield with Jay out wide. So he does give us a bit of variety. I personally, I think I'd go Jay and Chris Wood. I think there are that partnership's worked for us before. They were both really, really good at Old Trafford last season.
Yeah, that's my favourite. That's my favourite partnership. Wood
Yeah,
and Jay,
I just
sure.
think you can get a lot out of it because Jay, like, he's really good in the air as well. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for that. He's actually a big lad and he can jump and he's got a little turn of pace and he's technically gifted. He can shoot from distance. So I think Jay and Wood you get a decent partnership out of.
So you persist with Wood then, but bring Jay on instead of Barnes.
Yeah,
How do you
I think
drop
I would,
Barnes
yeah.
at the moment though? Barnes has
Yeah,
been
it's
terrific
tough.
since he came
For
back.
me, if Jay's fully fit and Dyche is happy, he plays. And then I think it's kind of, I wouldn't play.
Barnes and Jay don't really go together, do they?
I don't know. They've not really played that much, have they? So it's such an hard one. I'll tell you this though, I'd be amazed if we don't have Wood and Barnes starting on Saturday.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We can have these
I
conversations.
think away from home, I think I was going to bring this up, but I'll mention it now as well. A lot of people were talking about why we didn't make a sub earlier last night at 0-0 but I think that Dyche likes to leave Wood and Barnes on because they are effective in both boxes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to
Yeah.
defending set pieces and stuff like that. So when it was 0-0 against Man United, they didn't want to take one of the big strikers off just in case it's 0-0 in the 90th minute and having to defend the corner. So you don't really want a Vidra in that situation.
Yeah.
And you think about that going to West Ham, big direct side, Antonio. I think they're selling Haller, but another like big lad. It's sort of like you're gonna want Wooden Barnes in there defending both boxes.
I think as well, just to add what you were saying, maybe away from the kind of the glamorous side of the game, and Wood and Barnes do absolutely work the socks off. I think that's a big reason where Dyche doesn't pay Vidra. He doesn't do that work. And you see, I actually thought we was going to draw 0-0. That goal came as a bit of a shock to me because we looked quite comfortable in, even though we wasn't much of an attacking threat, we did look quite comfortable in our shape. And Wood and Barnes do a really good job defending in that shape. My dad did make me laugh last night. I was saying, you know what? My dad, I think, a bit more old school. He's got bloody Woodies, this, that, and the other. And I go, but give him his due. He is working his nuts off. And my dad goes, for 40 grand a week, I'd work my nuts off too. Which is
That's such a
bit
dad
of
thing.
typical dad comment. But I think what Robbie said there is just obviously the main job of the striker is put the ball in the net. But one, we want to try and be balanced on the podcast, and defending Barnes and Wood, they do an excellent job at in that defending side of it, and they press really hard and well. So
yeah, it's a really tough one. It really is, and I guess, is there any scope that Dyche brings a striker in January if we're going to be buying players?
Not unless we sold one.
Really?
Well, yeah, unless Vidra was to move
going,
on,
don't we? Yeah.
Unless
we don't
Vidra
need
was
to
move
sell
on,
now, though.
I find it
we don't
unlikely.
Need to sell.
Is that I think we've got 4 strikers, so it's not really like something that we're desperate for. And the thing is, Chris Wood has got a history of scoring double figures, and the goals will come back for him only because it's only like a temporary run of form, and he'll score goals again. I think by the end of the season, I bet he's in double figures again.
Yeah.
I think personally, I've seen Vidra signed like a contract extension till 2022 because the club triggered it. I think they'll probably look to offload Vidra in the summer and then look to get like a younger striker in with a little bit of pace. Like in the mold of like a Gray type, just to give us something a little bit different. I know we've been linked with. I think we've been linked with Tyrese Campbell from Stoke. I've not seen much of, but I know his name's been linked. I think not this January because I think other positions are more of a priority. But me personally, in the summer, I would like to see like a bit of a, someone like Mumbongo, that type pace power come into the team. Maybe he sees him to kind of, made the step up in the, maybe next season more for the Premier League. But he's certainly got something.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the only other thing, I mean, obviously we ended up having to go to extra time and penalties, which was probably unwanted, but we got there in the end, and I was absolutely delighted. The draws, the benefit of having the 4th and 5th rounds drawn at the same time on Monday, is that we've actually got 2. Well, number one, we avoided City, which was a miracle, and secondly, we actually look like we've got a really decent route through to a quarter final here, guys.
Who's going? Me or Robbie?
I was going to say,
I was waiting.
This pause makes me nervous. I'm just like, there was a pause and I was like, oh no, what's coming next?
Because I think you're going to get different responses from whoever you ask.
Okay, let's get Robbie out of the way first. Come on, Robbie, was nothing about this. Are you not even the slightest bit excited about Wembley?
Oh yeah,
Quarterfinals.
I care about how we do. It's just literally the games on TV. I don't really care about. I'll like the FA Cup again once all the little minnow teams are out of it, and then we could take it seriously again when the.
God! That is the absolute opposite.
When it's Chelsea versus Man United in the quarterfinal or something. Like it's Liverpool, Man United, isn't it? 4th round. It's sort of like
I would love to see Manchester City and Crawley Town in the final at Wembley. That would be the Rich. Come on, back me up. That would be the dream, wouldn't it?
Robbie, you are the biggest wind-up merchant ever. I absolutely.
It'd be fun for like 5 minutes until it was like 3-0, and then the game's over and the tie's dead, and it's like, and then you'll get the BBC commentators going, "Oh, Crawley, what an amazing job they've done! They've really made a good account of themselves, mate. They're 6-0 down after 20 minutes." It'd be that kind of game.
I'll be lifting the FA Cup on.
Can you imagine? They'd have all the tower cameras there as well.
I know. It's just obviously, yeah. It's when we seen Fulham away, I thought we're definitely going to lose that. Dyche's going to play a bit of a weakened team. They've probably got, even though we've got a better, I think, starting 11 than them. I think they've probably got more depth. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know, but but maybe just seeing that 5th round draw, I think the players will be more motivated for it. I think that's something maybe the whoever's organising the FA Cup can look to repeat next year, because it gives you that extra incentive. But we were saying on our group chat, which was quite funny, it'd been the most bittersweet thing ever for Burnley to get to Wembley, and then we all can't go.
Really typical, yeah.
Please
Absolutely,
don't.
like even if it's a semi-final, just to get to Wembley, and then you're all sat at home on your own watching it.
There you go. You've just reminded me of another reason why I hate the FA Cup. Semi-finals at Wembley. It's stupid.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Imagine having to pay for 2 trips to Wembley.
Yeah, it's expensive as well.
Yeah,
I used to like it back in the day when they used to have. They always used to have Villa Park, and they used to have them, didn't they? Like the southern ones that were always really good. But yeah, a neutral ground. But yeah, I'll be beyond devastated. Just how I look.
My mate tweeted me saying, really, it's a promising draw that got a good chance to get through to the quarters. And he went, yeah, but then you'll just get drawn City and get battered 5-0. I was like,
that's true.
Cheers, nice one.
Our only chance of getting to Wembley is if we're in opposite sides of the draw and we end up meeting City at Wembley.
Yeah.
So we'll get out there in Wembley, but we'll also get battered, and we'll all be walking to Wembley going, "What's the record loss for an FA Cup final? Are we going to beat that?"
Well, City beat Watford 6-0. Was it 2019?
Oh yeah, it was.
Yes, yeah.
No, City beat Watford 6-0.
City, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Watford definitely did not beat City 6-0.
No. That's the thing on that pitch at Wembley too. You could get absolutely hammered, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's massive, isn't it? I think it was a real shame that season for Watford, actually, because if you remember, I had a lot of credit for Watford that season, because I think they were absolutely bang mid-table safe with about 6 games to go in the Premier League, and they just literally abandoned the league and prioritised the cups. They played all of their really strong players, rested players for the cup games, and it was just such a shame that they just happened to run into that City side at the absolute peak. But that's what elite football's like. But yeah, I'm excited now, and I think the main thing for me is that although I've got the Sheffield United loss from, was that last season's FA Cup ringing in my ears? I don't know, when we're saying, Fulham will definitely not be up for that game because they'll want to progress the league form, and they'll want to get out and concentrate on the league. And I think Sheffield United did that to us last season. Was it Sheffield United or was that the League Cup?
Norwich.
Of the two.
Norwich beat us last year.
Norwich.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Norwich. Yeah.
Grant Hamler scored as well.
Of course, I knew it was one of the sides.
The melt.
My God. So yeah, I'm excited about the FA Cup. I think it's going to be good. Moving back then, I guess, to last night's game, I think there wasn't an awful lot to talk about in the game. I think we mentioned earlier that I thought by half-time we were given a really decent account of ourselves. And actually, I think not just the goal was pretty spectacular, but it also took a really unlucky deflection as well. Like, if you look at Pope's positioning, it was really good positioning for a keeper. I think he actually saves it if it doesn't get deflected. But obviously, there's the main talking point just before half time. We had that passage of play where Luke Shaw brings Goodmunson down, and Jesus Christ, anybody but Goodmunson as well. I was like, if you've broken him, I'm going to literally do my nut in here. So we've got the foul by Luke Shaw on Goodmunson, which the referee inexplicably decides isn't even a free kick and just lets the passage of play go. Everyone's remonstrating at the referee and going mad. Robbie Brady decides he's going to go turbo and just completely, I can't remember which United player it was, chops him down, last man standing, clean through on goal. Ben Mee's never getting back. The most obvious red card you've ever seen. And Robbie, we went over to VAR. Did unpick those two decisions. Well, actually, let's start with the first one. When VAR was called, we assumed they were reviewing a red card for Robbie Brady, but of course they took it back to the Luke Shaw one. So let's look at Luke Shaw. Was that the right decision?
I think so, yeah. I think it always looks worse when you slow it down. I think it's one of them where I think it easily could have been given on another day, but I think I would have been disappointed if it was the other way around. Let's say if it was Charlie Taylor or Eric Peters on Anthony Martial, I would have been disappointed if it would have been given a red card.
Okay.
So
you think it was a yellow?
Yeah, I think it's a yellow and it's certainly a foul.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a foul for sure.
Yeah,
But
I mean that's what I was shouting. Like when it was happening live, I was shouting at the telly, like, how's he not given that as a foul? And then I was absolutely screaming at Robbie Brady when he brought, I don't know who he brought down, but it's sort of like, if we get a man sent off after the referee's not given a foul, I'm going to rage.
yeah, see, the problem that I've got with that though, Robbie, is that, and again, it's not an exact set of circumstances, but it's the inconsistency of the decisions, it's the inconsistency of the messages. It's like we look back to that Leeds game, which we're all still not over yet, and Nick Pope gets a foot on the ball before he brings Bamford down, and he still gets a penalty because everybody's saying it was the reckless nature that he came out, and that's why a penalty was given. Keepers can't rush out, you can't have a reckless challenge like that, and the penalty was given. So even though Luke Shaw got a fraction of the foot on the ball before he took Gudmundsson out, it was a reckless challenge and he brought him down. Rich, it's exactly the same set of circumstances, and again, two different results.
But what I'd say is both resulted in a foul.
So,
do you get where I'm coming from?
No.
Because you're saying like Shaw, so you're trying to, like, I get where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, like, you're saying Pope's was reckless and Shaw's was reckless, but they
That's
both
true.
resulted in a
Yeah,
foul.
that is true, actually.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So at least
it's not a
do you get
foul
what I mean?
and a red
Like,
card
yeah,
are the same comparison. It's worthy of foul. It's the implication.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but there's still a foul though. So, but I agree actually. Yeah, I think with Robbie, I think for the first time on this podcast with everything he said there. No, I didn't quite think it was a red card. I think Robbie made a really good point. I think VAR slows everything down to make it look worse. I think one thing that saved Shaw, even though he did go high, he did pull out a little bit. And I'm a little bit old school. I kind of don't want to see people sent off all the time. But I think, yeah, obviously Brady would have been sent off, but it's kind of it doesn't really matter really because obviously, you know, Shaw's was a foul. What I would say about that VAR process, I actually thought they come to the right decision. It's just the chaos behind it. It's like it takes so long, and we're talking about, obviously we're not in stadiums, but imagine if you was in the stadium, you wouldn't have had a clue what was going on about, because it said on the telly, and it was on the big screen too, because a friend of mine was there last night doing like some journalism work, and he was saying it actually said denying goal scoring opportunity or checking that. So everyone thought in the ground that they were still checking the Brady thing.
They were checking the Shaw
So
thing.
so I think that's a bit of an issue where it kind of needed to be like ironed out a little bit. But one we did get away with, in my opinion, was that Maguire goal.
God,
I think we was very,
that's
very
true.
lucky
Actually,
there.
I've forgotten all about that. That was harsh. I would, if we'd have got a goal ruled out for that, I'd have been furious, absolutely furious. And I just don't see how. I don't see how he can avoid it.
We'd never
No,
score.
we wouldn't.
We'd never score.
Don't score now, anyway. Robbie, do you agree with that? What did you think of the Maguire goal? I've forgotten all about this.
Yeah, I think we all three of us agree we got away with that one. I don't know why the referee blew so hard. Like the referee, I heard the referee whistled as soon as Maguire headed it, and it's one of those situations again where it's like, why didn't the referee?
Well, it's the same as the Leeds thing again, isn't it? It's like, why referees need to let it go.
I think if the referee lets it go, Maguire scores, and then he checks it on VAR, I think Man United.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think United have got the same gripe that we had against that Leeds game. It's like, I don't understand with all of this implementation. This is the second season now we've had it in. How do the referees and the linesmen not know the rules?
I think that's what frustrates me about VAR. It's not VAR, it's the officials. There's too many officials who are incompetent in the Premier League. And the problem is, it's that, like you were saying, Natalie, there's still so much inconsistency with VAR there. And, you know, that's what the only theory I've got, and it's probably a load of nonsense, is United were whinging that much at the ref in that first half. And I could visibly see in his face he was getting annoyed with it. He kept going over to Maguire, telling Fernandes, Cavani to stop whinging. So maybe
Cavani, I can't stand Cavani after last night.
Well, maybe the ref thought, well, you're 50 fingers up to you, that serves you right for moaning. That's my thing. That's my only. But yeah, Cavani last night, he's in my list of hated footballers. He's in there.
I mean, he's a handful.
With James Maddison.
He's a handful and he's a massive class player, but my God, he's a pain in the ass to play against.
Crap all last night, wasn't he? Absolutely crap.
I thought he was better in the second half. I thought he turned it on a bit in the second half, for sure. He
missed a chance where if Wood missed it, Wood would have been lynched. Just had an earth shot. Nah. Pogba was good though last night, I thought.
Made a nuisance of himself, didn't he? I had a little bit of I've got a very good friend of mine who is a United player, and I sent him a screenshot of the teams before the game, and obviously this very strong United side that he put out, and I just basically said, like, this is unnecessary. Like, there's no need to put these players out. And I think he ended up saying, like, oh, we put our strong players out, although having whether Pogba's one of our strongest players is debatable. I was just like, mate, you can stop your top six whinging. We've got Eric Peters playing at left back. Like I've got no time at all for your little whinge as to whether or not Paul Pogba is in your strongest 11 right now. It's like major top six problems. So I think there was the only other thing I think that happened in the game as well. There was the talkie miss at the end that was quite heart in mouth moment. That would have been quite nice if that had gone in. You think he can do better there? The one right, it was about 2 minutes from the end. Do you remember?
Yeah, I got so excited when it dropped to him.
Anybody else?
That's sleepless nights. Just when it just dropped to him, and it just didn't. He just sort of just didn't connect with it right, and that last. I mean, talking at this like on the whole game, it's like I never expected us to beat Man United or anything like that. But I'm not disappointed with the result. I always just want us to give it a go and make as long as Man United have had to work for it, then I'm usually like quite pleased with how we perform. And in that last 5 minutes, I was like bursting with pride because we literally threw everything at it. And to have two big moments like the Vidra, I think this like sort of sums it up. We had two deflected efforts. One in the first half with Chris Wood, a deflection goes over the bar. Vidra just approaching stoppage time, deflected just wrong side of the post by Bailly. Man United have one deflected shot, it goes in. And it's like, it's just when it's against you.
Definitely. Well, I mean, obviously we weren't expecting, that was a free hit for us. We weren't necessarily expecting to get anything out of that game. But it leaves us, after 16 games, on 16 points, which is, about a point a game always makes me feel a little bit more comfortable than less than a point a game. But we do have up to 2 games in hand on a lot of the people. And I think significantly, one of our games in hand is against Fulham, who are currently in the 18th spot. We absolutely have to beat Fulham. We cannot lose one of our games in hand, and we can't give Fulham the advantage of obviously gaining some points. So that, I don't care if anybody can come and argue me all you want, that is a must-win game. Brighton at the moment is sitting in 17th place on 14. If we win one of our games in hand, we're on level points with Newcastle, and we're only 3 points behind Wolves. In fact, Wolves have played 18 games. We've played 16. If we were to win both of our games in hand, we end up on the same level of points as Palace and Wolves, and only 1 point behind Leeds, all of whom are deemed to have had a very good season so far. So we're not out of the woods yet, and I'm a little bit concerned that we're still a bit too close to the bottom of the table. But Rich, things are looking better than they were maybe 5 games ago.
Easy, innit, that? Win our 2 games in hand.
Well, one of them's Fulham. I don't know who the other one is. Who's the other one?
Well, we've got Liverpool. We've got Liverpool away. Well, we'll have 1 game in hand on Fulham.
Yeah, we won't.
After tonight.
We did have 2. We did have 2, but the other one was
after
United.
Tonight, they'll be, when they play Tottenham tonight, they'll be on the same game.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you're right.
Brighton's got 2 games in hand after tonight. Oh, we've got 2 games in hand on Brighton.
And on Sheffield United, we've got 1 on West Brom and 1 on...
I'll tell you this now. If Sheffield United stay up, we will definitely be staying up.
Yeah,
because... we were like, I can't remember, I said something like that in the group chat last night. We're like, so we're on 16, they're on
5.
So, 9 points ahead of them with 2 games. Sorry, my maths is bad. 11 points ahead of them with, you can tell I'm a PE teacher, not a proper teacher. So,
well, we're all.
So I actually think we'll be all right. I think the way we've been, it just shows, doesn't it? We've got a fully fit squad back. And I think, you're looking at our bench last night, it's looking a lot better. I think Taylor and McNeil's going to come into the team, which is huge for us on Saturday. Absolutely, you can't, especially Taylor. He's been superb this season, but having those two back will be a massive boost. I think you're even seeing in Matt Neal's cameo last night. He's just got that extra quality that none of our players have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm confident. Fully fit. Get our squad back properly together. Hopefully, get 2 or 3 new additions in January. I think we'll come about 5th. I think we'll come 15th. That's my prediction on the 13th of
I'd be
January. I think
happy
we'll
with
come
that.
15th.
I think 16th, but I think 15th would be amazing. I think you're right, Rich. I mean, I'm not too concerned. I'm not looking at Sheffield United because I just think they've gone. But you've got to look at 18th at the moment, and Fulham are only on 11 points, and they're going to get beat by Spurs. So if we beat them as well, we will be 8 points clear of them, and they're currently occupying that third from bottom spot. And that just means that we've got to lose 3 games and they've got to win. There's a 3-game swing there, and that's very difficult to do at the bottom of the table. So it just gives you that breathing space. So West Ham's not going to be an easy game at the weekend, but Robbie, it's a kind of a game that I feel like we could get something from.
Yeah, I think I always think about West Ham in terms of the Project Restart. I thought we were one of our best performances last season at their place, as a J-Rod winner. I think West Ham are a little bit hit and miss. They've had a really good season, but they've never really convinced me at home, and they've never really settled into like the Olympic Stadium and stuff. And it's like, well, I think it's certainly one we can sort of look at and maybe eye up that we can actually get something from. I do like a few of the players. Like I think Antonio's a decent player. I can't think of the Soshek in midfield. He's scored a few goals. He's pretty good. So they have got players who are dangerous, but I think I'd back us to get a point there.
I think we kind of have to, because looking at the fixtures coming up, we've got some pretty horrible fixtures in February we could do with getting some points from. So I think certainly some of these games we could do with getting some bonus points in the net. I think West Ham's one as well, where we can really look to step up and just remember that we have been in the Premier League for 5 consecutive seasons now. We're not a newly promoted side. We're not relegation fodder. We can really step up and compete against the likes of West Ham. And I think that's the attitude I want to see, and that's the swagger, Rich, that I want to see back in those players. I want them to come out and go, actually, hell yeah, I'm a Premier League player and I've been here for 5 years and I deserve to be here.
Yeah, I'm quietly confident for Saturday. I know West Ham's had a decent season. I'm not sure of the form of late, but I don't think they're quite playing as well as they were. I know they've dropped down the league a little bit. Yeah, I've just looked at the last. They've not won in 4 games. They've drew 3 and lost 1 of the last 4. So maybe they're not quite firing on all cylinders. I actually fancy us to keep a clean sheet against West Ham on Saturday. It's just whether we can go up the other end and score. That's obviously always our big dilemma. Again, I would like to see whichever way we go, just the strike force kind of mixed up a little bit, just to freshen it up. But again, I think it'll be a massive boost to see McNeil and Taylor back in the starting 11, especially Taylor. You're seeing the game he had against Wolves, where he's absolutely outstanding. He's the only real player for us who can get to the bar line. And obviously, as Robbie was saying, you need that service coming into the strikers too. It's going to be interesting who he starts on the other wing. Me personally, I'd still go with Brady on the right. I think he's been really good this season. I think I really like Goodmanson. I think he's a top player, but I'd still go with Brady on the other wing. And all of a sudden, with Taylor and McNeil back in, our team's looking, really strong going into the game at the weekend.
Definitely. Okay, I completely agree with that. I can't think of any other topics or points on the pitch that I want to wrap up. A couple of housekeeping matters. The Liam and George, who are obviously our representatives in the Clarets Trust, asked me to remind you guys that there is a Clarets Trust newsletter on its way out this week. So please keep an eye out in your inboxes for those. If any of you don't subscribe or not members of the Clarets Trust, then head across to their website or drop us an email, and we'll be able to get Liam to send you details if you're interested in becoming a member. I know George, our panellist, and our None and Never team, has written a couple of articles in there as well, particularly with the issue at the moment with fans not being in stadiums and that disengagement with football at the moment, and also the takeover as well. So keep an eye out for those. We have obviously got West Ham at the weekend, so I'll be interested. Dave and I will be back on Friday to do a bit of preview show action and see what we can pull out of Dave's magic hat for you in terms of entertaining stats for that one. Other than that, I think that's everything. I don't think we've got anything else to cover. Rich, Robbie, was there anything else you wanted to bring up before we leave our listeners?
No, all good with me.
No. Watch the FA
Excellent.
Cup.
What I might say to our listeners, your homework for this week, please. Can you all literally completely troll Robbie on Twitter and send him loads and loads of suggestions as to why he should love the FA Cup? Just bombard him with ridiculous comments, then make him change his mind.
The Carabao Cup is better.
Get in the bin. Listeners, punish him for that comment, please. Absolutely, just at him. Everybody just pile on and send him loads of tweets. That would be very amusing. So yeah, that's your task this week, listeners. Persuade Robbie Coppack that the FA Cup, the magic is still there. So yeah, as I said, preview show will be back on Wednesday, looking ahead to that fixture at the weekend with West Ham. And we will be back next week with the analysis and hopefully discussing 3 points and maybe some action in the transfer market. It's getting towards the middle of January and there's been no news yet from our American owners in terms of getting bodies in. So we will probably look at that next week and see if there's been any news on what's happening. And just basically give us a mid-month analysis, I think, of where our owners have got to in their first couple of weeks in charge. My thanks, as ever, go to producer Matt for knitting this all together and getting it out there for you. To band Joyce for providing us our music for this episode. To my team members, Rich and Robbie, for giving up their time tonight and giving that fantastic analysis about those two games. But my final thanks go to you, the listeners, for downloading and listening to this podcast. Your support is very much appreciated and we would not be here without you. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the None and Never podcast. Until next time.